To boo or not to boo? That is the question, at least for today.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
It is Southwest Bias, brought to you by our friends at Branded Bills. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills, the perfect headwear and apparel. Use that promo code PHNX for 20% off your first order. And yeah, we're talking booing today. And I've wondered for a while, do fans have the right to boo at sporting events? Should they express themselves angrily when things aren't going well? I thought about it even more after Kevin Durant said this the other night.
Kev, to go back to the crowd, in the middle quarters, there were some boos coming in, but once you guys responded with the energy in the fourth quarter, the energy started to come and they responded to your call as well. What's your relationship been with them, been like with them in this arena?
Yeah, I always wonder what booing is going to do for your team. Like, it actually makes no sense. If you really wanted to make your voice be heard, just get up and leave, and we'll feel that more than you booing. So we need energy, you know what I'm saying? When we down 20, we need y'all to get a little louder in there and cheer a little louder. And that was my thing once I started talking to the crowd. It's just like, yeah, booing has been a part of sports culture for the last 50, 60 years, but I think it's about time we put that up, you know what I'm saying? Just get up and leave if you don't feel like watching this team play. It's bad basketball. And we will understand, and that would make us feel even worse, you know, seeing y'all getting up and leaving. But the energy that they show, how loud they get on a good night, I mean, it's second to none. So I wanted to ignite that as much as possible. And I'm sitting there like, yo, what the fuck? Like, get your ass up. Let's do something for us. You know what I'm saying? So they responded well. It's nothing but love in this with this fan base. They always supporting and always show up and selling out every game that I play here. So I think they really, really enjoyed this win tonight, and this is the type of win, type of team they can get behind if we play that brand of basketball. So I understand booing, but that's some like 1960s, 70s shit. Just get up and leave.
Kev, to go back to the...
I don't quite understand the idea of just getting up and leaving. I have never been a person, when I've had frustration, to just quietly walk away. And maybe I'm not mature enough for that. Maybe that's the point. I understand from Kevin Durant's perspective that athletes are people too, and that things like that affect them. Things like booing, things like hate online, all of that impacts them as human beings. But if I'm a sports fan and I've paid hundreds of dollars for the privilege to be in that building, I'm not walking out when you play poorly. I'm not being quiet. You want me to get up and give you some energy? I'm going to give you the energy of my displeasure. And that is what I think fans deserve. Have we ever seen an athlete, when they don't get a call going their way, quietly walking away from the ref? Have we ever seen an athlete, when they have a problem with their coach, quietly walking away? No, they voice their displeasure. And I feel like fans should have that same exact right. Why should fans not boo, right? I do not understand the mindset. I do not understand the mindset of that some 60s or 70s stuff. No, it's just as much now as it ever has been, and it should be. Because guess what? After the Suns booed, or after the Suns fans booed, the Suns showed life again. And if you want me to do something positive for you as a fan, show up and play well. It's not my job to make you play better. It's not any fan's job to lift you up necessarily when things are going that poorly. When things have been compounded and been bad for a long time, fans should boo. Now, I do not in any way, shape, or form condone what some of the fans do in terms of personal attacks or going after families like they did with Bradley Beal, or chanting things like U of A fans and ASU fans have before towards players or opponents. I don't agree with that kind of stuff. But to simply boo because things have gone so poorly that there are no signs of life from your team is a fan's given right when they pay for that ticket, because they are an active participant. And walking away, I don't think is going to do anything. Because do you really think that a player is going to take more notice of the fact that the stands are now half empty than a loud, raucous 15,000 people booing at you? I don't buy it. And I think fans can have an impact on a game when they voice their displeasure. I got the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, with me. And is this just my Southwest bias, or do you think fans shouldn't boo like KD suggested?
Well, going back to your point about it's not their job it's not the fans' job to make them play better. What's the point of booing then?
Well, I think it's to voice your displeasure. And maybe in part it is to hope that they play better, but it's not my job to cheer you to get there, I think is more the point. I don't think it's a fan's job to have to be Pollyannic. This is supposed to be your outlet from regular life. And if it's just as bad as your regular life, yeah, I'm going to be upset. And I can't boo in my office. I can't boo when I'm at the pharmacy and something goes wrong. I can't boo that. But I can in sports because that is part of the atmosphere. And if you don't mind me booing the opponent, I'm going to boo you sometimes when you're not bringing enough to actually make me feel like my hard-earned money was spent correctly.
I think playing poorly isn't really where fans should be attacking with the boos. I think lack of effort is more where that aligns with. But I also think the Suns have had issues with lack of effort a lot this year. Defense is a lot of that.
I think it's lack of effort. I think it's what were your expectations? I mean, Cardinals fans in the early 90s booing the Cardinals was pointless because you knew what you were paying for, right? And we've seen that in multiple times. A 10-year period with the Suns, booing was fairly pointless because you decided to pay hundreds of bucks to go watch a team that you knew was going to win 19 games, that had G League talent on it. The Diamondbacks, we've seen multiple years where they've lost significant amounts of games, and booing is pointless. But when a team has expectations and they perform as poorly as we've seen the Suns, and in part, like you said, due to what feels like lack of effort, I think they deserve to boo, and those players should accept that they haven't lived up to that, because I'll give Kevin Durant credit. He has accepted that. He said they're playing terrible. He's accepted his fair share of blame. I just feel like that's part of what comes with it. And I've paid that money. Why do I have to leave and walk away, right? Because I've paid to be there, and I don't think that I should have to walk away to make my point. I can be vocal about it.
Where do you stand on fans that feel entitled to watch a good product because they paid a lot of money for it? Because prices in the NBA are very expensive, and ever since this team has come together the way it has with the superstars, it's become even more expensive to go to a game in Phoenix. Where do you stand on that?
I think they have a certain right, depending on, again, expectations. If you're going in and you're expecting the Utah Jazz to be world beaters this year, that's on you. You're just not very intelligent in the way you've decided to spend your money. But if you're going in and you see a Suns team like it was expected to perform well, or the Diamondbacks even this year, who are expected to be World Series contenders, if they show no heart, no hustle, no effort, and they're getting jack stomped in front of you at a home venue, yeah, I think you deserve that. But again, if it's poor, if it's a team that's not supposed to be good, you know what you've gotten into. So that is the opening segment here on Southwest Bias. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about my top 5 most booable AZ sports figures of all time. That'll be right after this. Got to tell you about Phoenix Raceway. NASCAR is back this weekend, and if you're looking for something to do, there is nothing like going out to Phoenix Raceway and seeing the beautiful venue in the Estrella Mountains. It is fantastic. I hadn't been there until last year, and I fell in love with it. You go out, you're going to see great NASCAR. You're going to be able to enjoy one of the greatest venues I've been to in the state. And they got great food too. So head on out there for what is going to be a great race. The Shriner Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway, 200 miles an hour around that oval. It is crazy. I did 100 in a pace car out there with a driver, and that blew my mind. I cannot imagine what goes on when you're 200 miles an hour inside one of those NASCARs. You're going to be able to see Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Bubba Wallace, and some of the greatest racers in NASCAR right now. So get your tickets at phoenixraceway.com. And if you're looking for a way to get out there, may I suggest Waymo? Waymo is fantastic. See, I don't drive a Jaguar. I know it's unfortunate. You probably don't either. But do you want to ride in a lap of luxury? You can with a Waymo, because they've got their all-electric Jaguars that are an autonomous vehicle. It'll take you from point A to point B, and you don't have to share that with anybody. If you choose to be by yourself, you can. And you can listen to your music. You can enjoy a ride, getting you where you need to with Waymo. It is super safe. They have over 150,000 hours per week of trips across San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. And you know what? They've had over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. If there was a freeway from here to the moon, you could get back and forth 80 different times. So download that Waymo One app and ride today. What if I told you that a guard who's been in the G League most of the year may have just saved the Suns' season in one quarter? That a relative unknown would remind people of a two-time MVP? That a season may have actually started in March with an under 500 record? What if I told you that tension between a team could be healed in the joy of the emergence of a teammate? That you can heal all wounds with a 23-point comeback thanks to one player's 10-point fourth quarter? That an all-time great would recognize the greatness of a 15th man.
You could tell when he got another opportunity, he was going to make the most of it and go out there and play his game. And every time he steps on the floor, he's been doing that. Even in the G, in the G, he's just dominant. But up here, he comes in here and makes, leaves a mark and plays extremely hard. I love playing with him.
What if it was the moment that changed everything? Don't Callin' It a Comeback. Directed by Rhett Reese. Thursday at 7 p.m. Part of the PHNX 30 for 30. Welcome back into Southwest Bias, and we talked about, do fans have the right to boo in the last segment, but now I want to talk about who the fans actually should boo when it comes to Arizona sports. It's an edition of Espo's Big Board. I've got the top 7 AZ sports people that you should be able to boo. Number 7, the most booable on this list. Number 7, Steve Keim, the Cardinals GM. We saw the disaster that was his reign there. Lots of problems. Wound up getting booted out unceremoniously. If you ask Cardinals fans, hell, if you go to Ask Johnny and Bo in the comments on PHNX Cardinals, they're going to tell you that Steve Keim is number 1 on their Cardinals list, and for good reason. So if you run into Steve out there, don't boo him in public. But if you ever see him at a Cardinals game, sure. Number 6, Dave Stewart. And some people might go, Dave Stewart, what? Really? Yeah. Do you remember some of the things he pulled with the Diamondbacks and how far he set that franchise back before Hazen came in and had to clean everything up? There were less, valuable assets in the freaking minor league system when Dave Stewart was there than a bank that shut down. That vault is completely empty, all right? And that was what Dave Stewart left this Diamondbacks team with. Tony La Russa there with him. It was just a very, very dark time for the D-backs and their fans, so I put him high on the list. Now, number 5 would probably be my personal number 1. It's the Morai. Marcus and Markieff Morris, the Suns players, the twins from the mid-2010s. I personally couldn't stand these guys, knowing them as I did working for the organization. And I know fans didn't particularly like them either, especially Markieff, who pouted so much and complained so much that the Suns decided to sit him and not play him and not have him around the team until they could find a trade, rather than having him around the organization. These two were problem childs from the second they wound up in Phoenix. Multiple accusations against them. I'm not going to get into it, but if you Google them, you could find that out. These two are higher on my list if I was just doing it personally, but looking at it in aggregate, I'll put them at number 5. Number 4 is for my friends in Tucson, all right? I have never seen the displeasure with a former head coach like I did with Jed Fish when he decided to abandon Tucson and the Wildcat faithful to head up to rainy Seattle and UW, all right? No knock on Seattle. I love the city. But Jed Fish was in the driver's seat in Arizona to own college football at the time. He had taken Arizona on a surprising run where they were ranked nationally to end the year. People thought that they were going to come into the Big 12 and make some noise, and instead Jed Fish decided the only noise he needed to make was a jet engine on his way out of Tucson. There are not people that are as hated as Jed Fish in Tucson unless they wear maroon and gold, all right? So Jed Fish, number 4 on the list. I won't even speak the name of number 3 on this list. I simply refer to him as the former disgraced owner of the Phoenix Suns. This man for 10 years took a franchise that was prideful and had the 4th best winning percentage in NBA history and slogged it through the mud. Years without playoffs. Some of the worst basketball we've ever seen. Just terrible management from top to bottom under this man. And then unceremoniously getting kicked out of the league because of his conduct and his disgraceful approach to running a business. The disgraced former owner of the Suns is number 3 on my list. And the only reason he wasn't number 2 is because the Suns remain in the Valley. Alex Morello gets that number 2 slot because he let the Arizona Coyotes disappear. And he walked away with $1 billion for his troubles. Yeah, Alex Morello is a horrible person when it comes to Arizona sports. He destroyed a fan base that was proud to love hockey in the desert. This team had its ups and downs, but Alex Morello put it out of its misery by shipping it to Utah. But fans here still deserve a hockey team, and that guy shouldn't be allowed to set foot within the boundaries of the state of Arizona without getting booed and without getting thrown out like he was DJ Jazzy Jeff in The Fresh Prince. But number 1 on the list is a man that not only had problems when he was in Phoenix, but then tortured Phoenix after he left. It's Robert Horry, the towel boy, as I like to call him. When he was with the Suns after he got traded here from the Houston Rockets, he wreaked havoc in the short time he was here. And it ended with throwing a towel in Danny Ainge's face. He got traded to the Lakers at that point, and we know what he did with that franchise and the Spurs to twist the knife. Robert Horry, number 1 on my big board of people Arizona sports fans should want to boo. So that was fun, Shane. I know that the mustache behind the Mac, though, has a special surprise for me here. Before we get to that, though, do you have any issues with anybody I put on this big board, Shane?
No, I don't think so. I think this is pretty correct.
I think there might be some argument
I
about...
think Morello needs to be 1, but I understand your take on Horry.
Yeah, I mean, Horry, I could see Morello 1. I could actually see some people putting Horry all the way down at 3. I can see some argument here, but this is the way I feel it needs to go.
Okay, Espo, here's your producer surprise for the day.
Oh, I'm concerned. I'm terrible at this kind of stuff.
When's the last time you did an Immaculate grid?
Oh, it's probably been 6 months.
Well,
and I think they were Suns related, so we're
this one looks pretty easy.
Does it?
So for those of you who don't know how this works, you have to guess a player for each column and row that intersect, and you have 9 guesses, so you have to do it perfectly. You can't miss anything. But if you get really sick at this, you can start getting good scores and unicorn scores, and those are all weighted on how many people have guessed that person. So if you know a really niche player for one of these, you can get a high score. But we can, since you don't have confidence, we can just focus on getting it all right, Espo. So
all right,
here are our rows. Our rows are the Lakers, so the player must have played for the Lakers, the Warriors, and 10 plus rebounds per game in a season averaged. The columns are the Atlanta Hawks, the New York Knicks, and the Milwaukee Bucks.
All right. So I'm going to start with an easy one. It is Knicks, Lakers. It's Carmelo Anthony. So that's a definite, and that is a lock. Probably not a big point one, but
37% of people that did this guess Carmelo.
I mean, it's a pretty simple one. I'm going to go 10 rebounds per game. I'm going to start with the Knicks, and I'm going to say Patrick Ewing, which should be right.
Yep, 60% of people.
Look, I'm not gonna. This isn't super obscure.
As we said, right? we got to focus on getting it all right. Maybe once we get some practice in, we can.
10 rebounds a game for the Bucks. I'm gonna say Lou Alcindor at the time might be listed under Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but so I think that is 23%. Okay. Only 23%. I guess I'm a little old head with that. Okay. Geez, this is Dikembe Mutombo for Hawks and 10 rebounds. I was going to go more random, but I didn't want to test it there.
32%. That's let's try to get a little obscure with these next couple of ones. Espo.
All right. So
Knicks and Warriors.
Knicks and Warriors. Let's think about it. Tim Hardaway?
Okay. That's probably a high percentage one. Oh, Tim Hardaway, senior or junior?
It was senior. I thought. Nope. No. Wow. I got one wrong. All right. So let's look. Bucks and Warriors, or Hawks and Warriors, or Bucks and Lakers, Hawks and Lakers. I don't know, man. So let me think about my Hawks and Lakers. Is there anybody obvious there? God, that man. Some of these are going to be obscure pulls to get here. Okay, so Hawks and Warriors. I think you went hard to embarrass me in round one here. God, Bucks and Lakers. There's got to be an obvious. Oh, Kareem again. Bucks and Lakers, but you can't use him. Which I probably should have thought of that before I went Kareem.
I can help you out here. Wesley Matthews.
Yeah, I think
that's probably going to be a one that's pretty. 4%.
Oh wow! All right, good pull on that.
There we go.
So
Bucks and Warriors. Dante DiVincenzo.
Did he play for the Warriors? He was drafted by the Bucks, went to the Knicks, and now he's in Minnesota.
I think he was in the Warriors briefly. I might be thinking of a different one.
I think you're thinking of a different guy, because I don't think he was there. Warriors, you got to think in the we got anything in the 90s when we're looking at Warriors and Bucks, or Warriors and Hawks, or Warriors and Knicks. When you look at Warriors, Knicks.
No, he was on Golden State.
Was he? All right, we'll take it then. When was he on Golden State?
In 2022, 2023.
So that was after the Bucks drafted him. He went to
Sacramento for half the season.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Good pull on that one. I wouldn't have guessed that. So now we got Hawks and Lakers. Did Dominique finish his career? And no, where did Dominique finish his career? It wasn't with the Lakers, so that one doesn't work. Who are some other guys that would have been in freaking Atlanta and LA?
Did Vince Carter play for either of these teams? Vince Carter is always one that I go for.
Vince Carter technically was a Hawk, but I don't think he was ever a Warrior or a Laker in that. Carmelo, was he ever briefly but I used him. So, Carmelo was briefly a Hawk and then a Laker. Man, I don't know my Hawks real well, and that's part of the downturn here.
Kyle Korver? Is he ever
Mookie Blaylock, did he play for both the Warriors and the Hawks? Let's try it. By the way, Pearl Jam originally named Mookie Blaylock. Look 7%. At that, 7%. Look at
there
that.
There we go.
And I gave you the Pearl Jam tidbit. Yeah. That should count for something too.
That's very interesting.
So Hawks and Lakers now. looking at that, and there's no obvious one that jumps out to me, but somebody watching and or listening is pounding the table going, Espo, you freaking moron.
Some people are very good at this.
I think people should boo me, here. Lakers and Hawks. Let's go through thinking about some of the Dennis Schroeder.
There we go.
And look at that. With two major assists from you.
There we go.
Look at that. I'll take it. That's not bad. So I went 8 of 9 in there with a couple assists from Shane. We'll bring this producer surprise back from time to time.
Maybe I can I think you can make your own of these now. Maybe I can make it a little easier for you.
Well, we could do some obscure things too. I like being challenged. He is Shane Diefenbach, the mustache behind the Mac. I am Espo. Thank you for joining us. You can follow me on Twitter at Espo. You can get everything about the show at PHNX_sports. Go support our friends at Branded Bills. Use that promo code PHNX to save 20% off on your first purchase. And we'll talk to you next time. Ahoy hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.